Many people have asked me how to start karting. Well, today I'm going to cover different ways you can get into this sport based on your age and your budget. I started karting 10 years ago when I was 12 years old, and I've competed in many championships around the world, and I've also competed in Formula 4. But the reality was, once my budget ran out, I was unable to progress through the Formula categories. However, I still compete in karting championships until this day because I love the sport, and karting is truly one of the purest forms of motorsport. So in saying that, the first step to getting into karting is defining your budget. If you've got thousands of dollars to spend every month, your target should be to get into owner karting. Owner karting is still possible to do if you're on a tight budget, but this limits how competitive you will be on track. If you've only got a few $100s to spend per month, your focus should be on rental karting. Rental karting is the cheapest and most accessible form of karting. The karts usually have 4-stroke engines. However, there are some rental karts with 2-stroke engines, which you can look into driving at a later stage when you have more experience. If you're a beginner looking to improve your driving, set a day in the week where you go to your local karting track for practice sessions. Each time you visit, book at least 2 sessions, and your objective is to build up as much experience and track time as possible. Remember, the more laps you do, the fitter you will become, and the better you will drive. Once you become a regular at your local karting track, you'll get to know other regular drivers to connect with and learn from. And you'll also get to know the staff and marshals who can advise you on different competitions which you can join. And that's your next step. In rental karting, there are 2 types of competitions: sprint races, which is individual, and endurance races, which is team. There will be different categories depending on age. So for example, 8 to 13 is junior, 14 plus is senior, and some even have a masters category for 30 plus. In these competitions, you'll come up against experienced drivers who have top timings at the track. The races are very competitive, and this is really where you learn racecraft skills such as overtaking, defending, dealing with pressure, and etc. These skills are priceless, and the more races you do, the better driver you will become. Your aim should be to participate in at least 1 sprint race per month. With regards to endurance races, these are much longer, and races can be 3 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours, and even 24 hours. The longer the race, the more drivers you'll need to have on your team. However, you should aim to do at least 1 endurance race per year, because this experience will test your stamina, race strategy, and ability to work together as a team. Now, the biggest rental kart championship in the world is the Saudi World Series. SWS is a championship with a sprint and endurance category. Any karting track which has a fleet of Saudi karts are eligible to host an in-house sprint and endurance championship across the year. The top drivers from each country are then invited to the Saudi World Finals every year to battle it out for the biggest prizes. So let's do a costing of a typical season in rental karting. Your basic practice should be once per week, and you should book at least 2 sessions. 2 sessions at a typical outdoor track will be $60. So in a month, you're spending $240 on practice sessions. You should participate in at least 1 sprint race per month, like SWS, and generally speaking, the entry fee for that is typically around $125. So per month, you're spending a minimum of $365 on practice and race fees. My advice is to follow this plan for at least 1 year if you're new to karting and on a limited budget. The first 3 months are all about gaining experience, developing your skills, and getting used to competing in tough sprint races. So by 6 months, you should be a well-rounded driver and consistently battling it out for top 5 finishes in these races. And for the rest of the year, you should be quick enough to challenge for podium places and race wins, and ultimately your long-term objective is to win the national championship and make it to the world finals. Like anything in life, set a goal, stay disciplined, and stick it out. Especially as a beginner, it can be disheartening in the first few months when you're not winning and everybody's quicker than you, but look at the bigger picture and trust the process. Stay consistent with your training schedule, and I guarantee within 1 year you will see the progress. You also need to remember that karting is a sport where you learn social skills, and it's important that you speak to key people at the karting track. Because you're going to be at the track at least once a week, you're going to come across different people, such as team owners, pro drivers, and people who can assess your level and advise you on your next steps. For all you know, you can even sign up with a kart team, and these exist in rental karting and of course in owner karting as well. When you're part of a team, you're going to be under their support and guidance, and it's a lot easier to progress in the sport rather than being a solo driver who's trying to figure it out all by themselves. Now moving on, let's say you've got thousands of dollars to invest in karting. Your target is to get into owner karting as soon as possible. That doesn't mean you should neglect rental karting, especially if you're a beginner with no karting experience. It would not be safe for you to drive a 125cc race car. Rather, you should do some kind of a crash course in rental karting to establish a foundation and learn the key driving skills. This is as simple as a 3-month period where you're doing as many training sessions as possible, preferably with a driver coach who can assess your driving, and you supplement that by competing in as many sprint races as possible. By the end of these 3 months, you'll have a solid foundation and ready to make the step into owner karting. Now, the world of owner karting is serious and extremely competitive. There are a number of championships which you can join, such as Rotax and IAMI. These are two of the most prestigious championships in the world. Similar to SWS, you have a national championship, and then the winners of that will receive a ticket to the World Finals. The World Finals is where the top karting drivers in the world gather to compete for the biggest prizes. Let's take the Rotax Max Challenge as an example. Rotax is the engine manufacturer, and they provide competitors in that country with a sealed engine for the championship. The type of category depends on your age, and here are the 9 categories. So what chassis do you use? Well, that's where a kart team comes into play. It's the driver's choice which team they want to join. There are well-established teams such as Tony Kart, Birillart, CRG, and many more. Kart teams have different chassis and different packages to offer the driver. Remember, owner karts in general require a lot more maintenance and work, so each kart team will have mechanics to take care of that. The cost of a brand new kart with a new Rotax Senior Max engine is around $9,000. You can buy a decent second-hand Rotax Senior Max kart for around $5,500. But bear in mind, this is just the starting cost. Now you need to keep a budget aside every month for tyres, spare parts, fuel, and etc. A set of 4 tyres will cost around $250, and depending on the track layout, they can last up to 10-12-minute sessions with decent performance. Now remember, a Rotax engine lasts up to 50 hours before you need to rebuild it, and peak performance will only last around 20 hours. I've seen drivers who will buy 3 or 4 engines for the season and keep swapping them out, and some will even have spare chassis. Generally, your main costs after buying a kart will go towards tyres and spare parts, but also you have to factor in track fees for training, storage, and of course race entry fees. When we talk about the cost of a full season for the Rotax Max Challenge, it's best to consult a team and see what packages they offer. These packages will include the chassis, an engine, dedicated mechanic, storage, driver coach, and many other perks to ensure that you can be as successful as possible on track. Realistically, you're looking at spending at least $50,000 to compete at the top level and win in Rotax. If you don't want to buy a kart straight away, kart teams will rent them out to you for a test day and even for a full race weekend. Typically, the cost of a full test day is around $600 and a full race weekend is around $2,000. I want to continue this discussion in the comments because we have drivers from all over the world watching, so let us know how you got into karting and what karts and championships have you driven in, and approximately what the costs are in your country. Earlier this year, I launched the KTips Academy, which is a free learning platform with different resources. We have a weekly track help discussion where I review your karting footage, and soon there will be a 6-week Go Kart training program which you can follow to improve your karting lap times, and it will be especially useful if you're new to karting. So join the Academy for free by clicking the link in the description. If you did enjoy today's video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. But until the next video guys, I'll see you next time.